The third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." All right, let's pause there. So this is the wedding. We launch our lives like this wedding party. Everything's going to be great. It's going to be a good time. We're going to see there's going to be joy and smiles and laughter. That is how we start our lives. Especially, I love hanging out with young people as they're getting close to graduating. And you just see they're just full of life and energy and dreams and things they want to accomplish in life. I love that. That's what we do. We set off and we want to make a difference. We want to leave a legacy. We want to build something that's going to last. We want to be happy. We want to be healthy. We want to make a difference. And, we want to have a marriage. We want to have a career, a faith that holds up when the storms come. The stuff that really matters. We want a Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. That might just be me. But seriously, we christen our lives to, in a similar way like this ship here. We christen our lives the way they christened this mighty Edmund Fitzgerald back in 1958. Very high expectations. This is strong and reliable, holding her own through the storms. Can you tell what's been playing at Casa de Hall all week? Am I sappy for Michigan history? Absolutely. Will this apply to this scripture today? Absolutely. So stick with me, okay? This ship was strong and reliable. It was holding her own. Now move your brain from Lake Superior to this dinky little town called Cana. Smaller than even Nazareth. This is a tiny little town. So here's the scene in John 2, a wedding party. There's laughter, there's music, there's full plates, full hearts. No one's checking their watch, hoping to slip out the back door. That is what life is supposed to be. God designed us to live like a wedding party. I'm serious. Look at the Bible. It opens in Genesis 2 with a wedding in the garden. Jesus begins his ministry where? At a wedding. And the story ends with a wedding feast of the Lamb in Revelation chapter 9. God digs weddings. And his whole story, that whole story we walked through, creation, fall, redemption, and reconciliation, well, it's a love story, isn't it? God and his people, a groom and his bride. Did you just hear the record needle scratch? Because I just lost all the dudes when I said that. Jesus is my groom. That's kind of creepy. I know, it's a little weird, right? Well, why does God use a wedding and marriage as an analogy for his relation to us? He doesn't do it to weird us out, dudes. It's because a wedding isn't just about feelings. It's about something called covenant. It's about someone saying, I choose you. I am binding myself to you. I have seen you at your worst, and I'm not going anywhere. You are mine. I am yours forever and ever. That's what God's been doing since the beginning. He didn't just create us to walk away from us. He bound himself to us in covenant. And that's the party he's been trying to get us back into ever since we ruined everything back in the garden. Does that help you guys a little bit through this bridegroom analogy? So when Jesus starts his ministry at the wedding, that is not random. It is a sign. He is saying, this is what I came to restore. The joy that ran out when sin crashed the party. When life's the way it's supposed to be, there's enough for everyone. There's no pretending. There's no lack. There's no scarcity. Nothing is missing and nothing is broken. That's God's peace. It's called shalom. That's what God desired. That's how it was made, with celebration and peace and joy, communion, abundance. But you and I both know life does not stay that way for long. And as we see today, the wine always seems to run out. Even the best built things, their hulls will age. Their rivets will rust. Even the mighty Edmund Fitzgerald met a storm that she couldn't handle. So how do we get this wrong? Well, everything starts fine here. We just saw at this wedding at Cana. Music's going, people are laughing. You can hear the glasses. They didn't have glasses back then. They had things, what were they made out of back then? I don't know. goblets. They had goblets clanking. There you go. Better. It wasn't glasses clinking. It was goblets clanking. There you go. And as we see today, the wine runs out. Even the best built things run out. So behind the scenes, there's panic. Imagine all the servants. Like, oh no. Before Mary noticed, you know the servants noticed. This party's still got a long way to go and we're out of wine. What do we do? You know, you ever been behind the scenes and things aren't working, but like you want to make sure that you put on a good face, that things are going well. Kind of like us sometimes on a Sunday morning, stuff's not working, like a live stream, and we got to figure it out. That's kind of what life is like. So imagine these servants, they're starting to freak out. They can't bring out more wine. There's no more wine left. The celebration's about to fall apart. But most of the people at the wedding, they were not aware of this quite yet, just the servants, which is exactly how most of us deal with our crises. We like to hide them. We like to pretend it's not really going. Those cracks that are there, yeah, they're not really there. Those rusted rivets, oh, they're doing fine. We're holding our own. But some of Jesus' best work happens in the places that we are most desperate to hide. So these servants, they keep smiling, they keep serving, they keep pretending everything's okay. Isn't that a picture of us? We launch with expectations of a happy life, a healthy life, making a difference. And for a while it might work. The family can grow, the career takes off, the faith feels strong, we're holding our own. But then the storm hits. That diagnosis, the betrayal, the kid who walks away, the marriage that feels more like a business partnership, the faith that used to feel alive but now just feels hollow. And we do what most hosts at a wedding party did. We panic quietly. We keep the music going, we smile, we post pictures, we say we're fine, but the wine's gone. The problem with this wedding, it wasn't mismanagement, it was simply limitation. They did what they always did, and it still was not enough because they were limited in their strength and their capacity and their time. Now let's go back to 1975, November of 1975. The Edmund Fitzgerald was finishing her shipping season, and she'd already made dozens of runs that year, and the crew was tired. They were ready to be done. But then the call came for one more load. 26,000 tons from Wisconsin to Detroit. One more run before the season closed. I know it's getting late in the season, but they said, we can do this. And Captain McSorley, he could have said no. He could have just said, we're going to make it a year, go home for the holidays. The forecast is bad. The gales of November were starting, but he'd been, we'd been running that lake for decades. He knew the ship, he knew the crew, he knew the route. And then on November 10, late afternoon, the November gales on Lake Superior were not casual. And did you know that the Edmund Fitzgerald could actually bend? It was made to bend. Steel plates were welded together, bow and stern both rising and falling on different waves. It was a beautiful creation of mankind. She'd flex and twist to absorb the force of all those gigantic waves. She bent as long as she could until she couldn't anymore. And the Fitzgerald, for all her might, it did have an aging hull. The ship started taking on water, and the crew was working the pumps, fighting to keep her afloat. And Captain Ernest McSorley, he radioed the nearest ship, the Arthur M. Anderson, and the last communication from the Fitzgerald, he said this: "We're holding our own." 10 minutes later, she was gone. There's no SOS, no lifeboats, no survivors. 29 men lost their lives. In this phrase, "we're holding our own," I saw it this week with all the media and all the postings about the Edmund Fitzgerald's the 50th anniversary of the sinking. I saw this line, "we're holding our own." As the ship is going down, he says, "we're holding our own." And I thought to myself, that's exactly what we're reading about. This wedding at Cana. That's what's going on in the scripture. We're holding our own. Became more than a radio transmission. We're holding our own. It's a picture of us trying to stay afloat, even when we're starting to take on water. We're holding our own. That's us, isn't it? Now let me be clear, okay? There's nothing wrong with hard work. Nothing wrong with toughness. Nothing wrong with grit. In fact, we celebrate that. Why do I love my Lions and Motor City Dan Campbell? Grit. It's a good thing. Your parents taught you put your head down, you get through it, you rub some dirt on it, don't complain. That is not bad. That's how you survive. That's how you raise a family. That's how you build something that lasts. I'm not here to tell you to stop working hard. But here's what we do that can kill us. We try to hide that aging hull. We cover up our rusted rivets and pretend they're not there. We pretend we don't have limits. We say, I'm fine, even when we're taking on water. We turn hard work into never admitting we need help. We turn be tough into never let anybody know I'm struggling. We turn hold your own into die trying. And that's exactly what the Edmund Fitzgerald did. That's why we say when we say yes too many times to things we shouldn't say yes to, when we're tired, when the forecast is bad, when we know we should pull back, but we just can't afford to because people are counting on us, because we got a reputation to maintain, because this is just what we do. We say it in our marriages. Someone asks, how things are. We say, oh, we're fine. But, you haven't had a real conversation with her in 3 months, maybe. You're just taking on more water and hoping you can make it to port. We say it in our faith, too. We say, I'm good. But we can't remember the last time we actually prayed to God and meant it. You're running on empty, but you keep showing up because that's what's expected of you. See, here's the truth we don't want to admit. We were never built to hold our own. The storms are too big, period. The storms are too big. The party's going to last longer than you can. We don't have enough wine on our own. But here's the good news. Jesus is more than enough. This Fitzgerald, the Edmund Fitzgerald, it was a good ship, well built, well captained, experienced crew. But she wasn't built for that storm, not on that day. Not with that aging hull and those rusted rivets when the gales of November came early. She was not built for that, and neither were you. You were not designed to manufacture joy out of sheer willpower. You weren't designed to carry the weight of your marriage by yourself. You were not designed to say yes to everything and hold it together while you pretend everything's just fine. You were never built to hold your own. You were designed to be held. So I hope you're hearing me. Jesus is not asking you to stop being tough. He's not asking you to quit your job, to stop providing for your family. He's simply saying, stop hiding the cracks in your hull. Stop hiding those rusted rivets. He's asking you to stop pretending. He's asking you to admit, just say it, I can't do this alone. I'm not built for this storm, God. I need you, Jesus. The Edmund Fitzgerald was not built for that storm. The wine at this wedding ran out. Work hard? Yes. Be tough? Absolutely. Pretend you don't have limits? Friends, that is going to sink you every time. The Edmund Fitzgerald went down because she had limits that she could not overcome. They needed more than what any human could provide. The jars at this wedding, they had limits too. So what does Jesus do when the wine runs out? When we're taking on water, when we finally admit we're not holding our own? Let's see. Let's pick back up here. Remember, Jesus' mother, Mary, said to him, Jesus, they have no more wine. Look at his response in verse 4. He says, woman, why do you involve me? My hour has not yet come. I think that's ancient Aramaic for, Mom, I'm not going to do magic tricks for your friend here at this wedding. His mother said to the servants, do whatever he says. Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." Huh? So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so. And the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water, they sure knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside. He said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you saved the best till now." The master didn't know where this wine came from. The servants did. Now, the glory of Jesus is often revealed first to the lowly, to the overlooked, to the behind-the-scenes people. What Jesus did here, it says in the scripture, in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. The wedding guests, they just were enjoying some better wine. The disciples, the servants, they saw who Jesus really was. It was the same miracle, but 2 very different responses. This is Jesus' first public miracle. It's not an accident that he started here at a wedding, filling empty jars, turning what looks like scarcity into abundance. That's the whole story he came to tell, moving us from death to life. But look at these 6 stone water jars sat nearby. John points out something here that it's easy for us to miss. These were not wine containers. These were not wine containers. These were purification jars used for ceremonial washing, the old religious system. It's their old system's best attempt to keep people clean. Even their religion, though, had run dry because they were empty, weren't they? The things they depended on to make them feel okay, to make them feel clean, it was not working anymore. The old system of duty and performance, try harder, do better, those jars were empty. And Jesus says to the servants, fill them with water. Water? Okay, so they do it. Do they do it halfway? No, it says they filled it to the brim. Do we use the word brim anymore? What was that coffee company used to say, filled to the brim? Remember that? What was that? What was it? Maxwell House. There you go. All the kids are like, Maxwell, I drink Starbucks. You know, Maxwell House. Filled to the brim. And Jesus turned all that water into wine. Not just a little bit, 120 to 180 gallons of it. That's a lot of wine. That's like 900 to 1,200 bottles of wine. That's a lot of wine. Which means either Jesus really loved a good party or the guests were really thirsty. This isn't just about saving face for the hosts. This is a picture of what he came to do in the world and in your life. He takes what's used for cleansing and he turns it into communion. Those jars represented the old way. Wash yourself, try harder, make yourself clean, come back next year and do it again. Jesus fills them instead with wine, and he says, I'm not here to give you another religious bath. I'm here to give you myself. Not a ceremony, but a relationship. Not a one-time cleanup, but ongoing salvation. And now let's party. He transforms duty into delight. He replaces scarcity with abundance. The master of the banquet, he tasted, he says, whoa, you saved the best till last? Isn't that a story of the gospel? Like the law, it was good. God's rules, the Old Testament stuff, right? It showed us what we were supposed to be. But my friends, grace is so much better. Religion could clean you up on the outside, but only Jesus can fill you up on the inside. So notice again, Jesus doesn't just refill the wine jars. He fills water jars, the ones that represented religious duty. He's saying, I'm not here to top off your performance. I'm here to transform it. I'm not here to get you over the finish line. You do your part, and then I carry you over the finish line. I'm here to carry you from start to finish. That's what he does with your parenting, with your marriage. When you stop trying to fix it and white knuckle it and start trusting him, because his grace is enough. We sang that today. That's what he does with your faith when you stop trying to earn his love and just sit back and receive it. The Edmund Fitzgerald took on one more run and went down trying to hold her own. These jars at Cana, they overflowed because the servants admitted they had nothing, and they did what Jesus said. The servants at Cana, they couldn't turn water into wine. They had nothing to offer but obedience. You see that? These servants, they couldn't turn water into wine. All they could do was obey what Jesus says. Jesus says, fill the jars. And they filled them. Even though water wasn't the problem, they didn't try to hold their own. They didn't try to fix it themselves and add a little packet of Kool-Aid to make it look like wine. They just did what Jesus said. And then he did what only he could do. Do you see the difference? The Fitzgerald story is about what happens when the storm is bigger than human strength, even faithful, experienced, competent human strength. This Cana story is about what happens when we bring our limits to Jesus. He doesn't need you to hold your own. He needs you to let him hold you. And here's what makes it possible. Jesus isn't just some helper. He is the creator. When he tells these servants to fill those jars with water, he's about to do what only God can do. He's going to speak to creation itself, and creation is going to obey. That's who's holding you. When you stop trying to hold your own, not just someone stronger holding you, but the Creator himself is holding you. And he's more than enough for any storm that you will face. So think about what's happening at the molecular level here. Water molecules, H2O, becoming wine. The sugar and the tannins and the flavor compounds, that takes months. They develop over time in a vineyard. Jesus just speaks them into existence in an instant. The same voice in the beginning that said, let there be light, now says to these molecules, yeah, become wine. And they do. This isn't magic. That's authority. The authority of the one who holds every atom of the universe together. That's why the disciples believed in him after they saw this miracle. They didn't just see some nice guy doing a favor for the wedding host. They saw the Lord of all creation revealing his glory. And that is who is holding you. So stop trying to hold your own. He's not just someone who cares. He's not just someone who's stronger than you. He's the one who spoke galaxies into existence, the one who commands the wind and the waves, the one who has authority over every molecule of your body, of your marriage, your fear, your future. And notice what Jesus tells the servants to do. He says, fill the water pots with water. Now, if you're the Edmund Fitzgerald taking on water, that's the last thing you want is more water. But here's the difference between the Fitzgerald and these jars. The Edmund Fitzgerald's crew was trying to hold their own, pumping out as much as they could, trying to stay afloat. But the servants at Cana, they're doing what Jesus told them, bringing water in, even when it didn't make any sense. The servants couldn't turn the water into wine. All they could do was obey this man, Jesus. And you know who saw the miracle up close? You notice this? It wasn't the important guest. Wasn't even the master of the feast. It was the servants, the working people, the ones hauling the buckets. Notice what Jesus does, how he reveals his glory to the people who feel insignificant in this life. Jesus doesn't reveal his glory to the impressive people first. Over and over, he reveals it to the people doing what he says, even when they don't understand why. That's you. That's your family. That's this church. We're not the master of the feast, my friends. We are the servants hauling the water, and that's exactly where Jesus does his best work. Now, remember what I said at the beginning, how a wedding, it's not about feelings. It's about covenant. It's about saying to someone, I choose you. I'm binding myself to you. I've seen you at your worst, and I'm not going anywhere. You are mine. I'm yours forever. That's what's happening here at Cana. Jesus isn't just fixing a problem at a party. He's making a covenant statement. He's saying, I choose you people. I see your emptiness, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to fill you. Not because you've earned it. Not because you've earned it, my friends, but because I have bound myself to you. Every jar at Cana points forward to his own blood, poured out at the cross. Jesus was emptied so we could be full. He took the shame so we could taste his joy. And when he lifted the cup at the Last Supper, he said, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you." My friends, that's what's happening here at Cana. Joy flowing from his sacrifice, covenant love poured out. That's what this miracle is about. Jesus is saying, you're empty, and I'm enough. So stop holding your own and let me hold you. So let's bring this home. Here's the point of everything we've been trying to talk about today. Every one of us, we are limited. Every one of us is empty. The storms are too big, bigger than you. The party is going to last longer than you've got the goodies for the party goers. We don't have enough wine, but Jesus is more than enough. All we need to do is admit we're not holding our own. We're sinking. We are out of wine. We need Jesus from start to finish. Your life, your job, your school, your marriage, your parenting, all of it is too much on our own. Jesus lived, died, and rose again so we can experience life abundant, life filled to the brim, overflowing, life with him. No more trying to hold our own. Amidst God, I just admit it. Just say it. God, I got nothing. I got nothing but you. That's not weakness. That's the perfect place to be. And walk with confidence in knowing that even as you feel like you have nothing, you have him and you are his forever. Look how John closes this story. What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory. And his disciples, they believed in him. So every miracle in John's gospel, it's pointing to something deeper. It's not just about the sort of the magic thing that you see happen. It's pointing to something deeper. It's never just about the wine. It's never just about the water or just about the healing. It's revealing who Jesus is. And he's inviting us to trust him. The disciples saw what he did, and it says they believed. The wedding guests, they just enjoyed some nice wine. Which one are you? Are you just sipping the blessings? Are you trusting the one who provided them? Because you can experience Jesus' power without ever actually trusting him. You can do that. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. Blue sky out there is gorgeous. The coffee this morning tastes so good. The person you came here with who you love, the friends that you saw who greeted you, that stuff's all good. But you can enjoy all that stuff without ever trusting the one who gave you those gifts. You can taste the wine without knowing the giver of that gift. You can get a miracle and miss the Messiah. The wedding guests walked away thinking, man, that was some good wine. The disciples walked away saying, that is the Son of God. Same party, same jars, same wine, completely different takeaway. So what does trusting him actually look like? Well, here's what changes when you move from this idea of scarcity to abundance. Look at your faith. Scarcity would say, I got to try harder, I got to pray harder, I got to be better, I got to wake up earlier. Abundance says, oh, Jesus already did all that. My job is to receive, not to achieve. I can stop performing. I can start resting in him. And then wow, that's a good God. I want to spend time with that God. I want to be with him. I don't have to get up early. I get to get up early. I don't have to go to church. I get to go to church. I don't have to give away that stuff, that money that I worked so hard for. I get to share that. Do you see the difference? In your marriage, scarcity says, I'm not getting what I need, so I'm going to withhold. I'm going to step back. Abundance says, I've been filled by Jesus, so I can pour out, even when my spouse is running dry. So stop keeping score. Start giving freely. In your parenting, scarcity says, I got to control everything, or it's going to fall apart. Abundance says, God's got more grace for my kids than I do. So stop parenting out of fear and start pointing them towards Jesus. In your school or at work, scarcity says, my worth is tied to my performance. Abundance says, I'm already loved, so I am free to serve. I'm free to fail at that test. You stop taking on one more run when you know you're not built for that storm. Maybe your jar feels empty today, my friends. Maybe your marriage is running on fumes. Maybe your faith has gone flat. Maybe you're in a storm right now and you're trying to hold your own, but you can feel yourself going under. Bring that emptiness to Jesus. He's still in the business of filling what's dry and turning water into wine. That first miracle was not loud. There was no spotlight. There was no announcement. Just water jars in the corner and servants who knew what happened. Now Jesus, he works in us in the same way, quietly and faithfully. Those mountaintop experiences are awesome. Enjoy them. But most of life is a valley. Most of life is being on Lake Superior in the middle of a storm. He's holding us through those storms. And the good news is you don't have to fake it anymore. He knows your hull is weak. He knows your rivets are rusted. And he loves you. And the cross proves it. He poured out his blood. His body was broken to prove it. He saw us at our worst and he said, you are mine, I choose you. In 1995, they raised the Edmund Fitzgerald's bell. See what it looked like here? It was at the bottom of Lake Superior. They took it out of the water, and 29 times they rang it, once for each man who went down trying to hold his own. The Fitzgerald's crew, they were not foolish. They were doing their jobs. But the storm exposed what's true of every human endeavor. Every one of us had limits. The tragedy isn't that they tried. It's that the storm was too big for any human strength to survive. Today we raise a different cup. Not to mourn what was lost, but to remember what was given. Jesus did not go down in a storm that he couldn't handle. Jesus was killed on a cross that he chose. He had a choice. He chose you, and that meant choosing the cross. But he did what no other human could do, because after he died, he walked out of his own grave, new and better before. And that is what he offers us as well. New life. And on his last night before the cross, he lifted the cup and he said, this is my blood poured out for you. He was willing to pay the price for your sin, something we would never choose to do. Captain McSorley said, we're holding our own. The servants at Cana said, we got nothing. Guess which one survived the night? Which one are you today?